Leadership Nation, Christopher Hart here once again from Transforming Lives Coaching and Consulting, bringing you another Lead Strong Leadership Development series whereby we look to grow strong leaders who are more influential and thus more impactful in their own lives and the lives of those that they have the ability to influence. So thank you for joining me today. If you are joining me for the first time, welcome. You can follow us on Facebook here on our Facebook Lives. Go ahead and turn on live notifications as we look to deliver quality content to you each and every day that can help strengthen your leadership lid and capabilities. But if you're not able to join us live each and every day, go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel where we post our videos. That way you can catch up and go back and look at all our other previous ones that we've done, as well as stay abreast on your timeline when you have time available. So today's topic, we're talking about healthy leadership, how to build an organization of healthy leadership. So what we want to understand about organizations and leadership is that all organizations are going to experience change. We're going to experience change from the marketplace. We're going to experience change internally. We're going to experience change within ourselves, etc. There's so many factors in play that cause an organization to experience change. And I believe a organization of healthy leadership is one that understands that change, has a focal point on the fact that that change is going to happen. We just don't know when. And sometimes we do, but we have a plan for it with regard to our leadership. Okay. Sometimes, a lot of business leaders I see, they have a shift plan, right? Like if the market shifts, this is what we're going to do. If the economy shifts, we'll start tailoring back our expenses. They'll have itemizations on their P&L and income statements that determine what gets cut and what doesn't. But what I noticed is they don't have that same plan in their organization for their leadership, both in the here and now and in the future. So what we're going to talk about today is how to build an organization of healthy leadership. What is your leadership succession plan? Okay, we're going to talk about 4 different plans that I believe you need to take into consideration. There may be more, but these are 4 that I've identified, I think, that are at least a good starting point. And then what are some things that can help us build on this, both in the here and now and in the future, and how it can bring value to your leadership journey, being a stronger leader, more influential, more impactful, and building a great, healthy organization. So leadership succession. What do we know about leadership succession? Look at the root word success, okay? We know change happens, and if we want to have success through change, then we need to have a succession plan. We need to have a plan that supersedes our existence as a leader, as well as the existence of those leaders within you. It's about creating a leadership pipeline in your organization. Now, some leaders, you may be telling yourself, oh, Chris, I have a leadership plan. I'm constantly recruiting. I'm always recruiting every day for new talent to put them on the bench, blah, blah, blah. And that's good to a certain extent, but it still has its limitations. And what that looks like is there's what I believe to be a much better plan out there, because that plan is what's called a replacement plan. We want to look at a reproduction plan. So it really becomes a matter of reproduction versus replacement. Here's the thing. I'll do a separate video here in the next couple days on the value benefits to each one, because there's pros and cons to each. But let's just look at kind of the reproduction plan versus the replacement plan. And the reproduction plan is nothing more than we reproduce our leadership into subordinate leaders. We create a pipeline within our organization where we reproduce our leadership in other people to create, in essence, this next man up. Right? If you follow sports, and you've heard me talk about the Patriots organization, I'm not a Patriots fan, but I do respect their organization and what they do to some extent. Much of their success is all predicated on next man up. We don't care if we lose the top linebacker. Like, they literally traded the top linebacker last year because he wanted a new deal, and they were like, nope, that's not part of how we operate. Boom. They sent him to the Browns. right? The Cleveland Browns, top linebacker, they're like, hey, you're out of here. We'll trade you for nothing. Next man up. Tom Brady goes down, gets hurt. Next man up, Garoppolo. Tom Brady gets hurt. Next man up, Cassell. And the interesting part is each one of those next man up, they've risen to the occasion of success within that organization and then eventually left, signed big contracts, and they don't really do anything. And really what it boils down to is the organization, the Patriots organization, has a great reproduction plan. Everything from the players to even the coaching staff, right? Like many other teams go out and hire the assistant coaches on the Patriots coaching staff, and they don't even really amount to much. Their next man up, their reproduction that is built off of the higher level leadership that's being held accountable within the organization in a pipeline manner is very high level. So what we want to look to do within our own organization is have that same reproduction plan so we don't have to go out and replace a leader every time change happens in our organization, in that leader's life. Because here's the other thing we're going to look at. What happens if that change happens to you? Okay, so we'll talk more about this. So understand, we're going to look at a reproduction plan versus a replacement plan. And stay tuned. I'm telling you, subscribe to our YouTube channel and turn on live notifications, because I'm going to do a future video on the benefit, value, and cost of a replacement plan versus a reproduction plan. So really what we're looking at is the next man up, who's next in line. And here's one of the first questions I'll have for you leaders. Who's next? Who's your replacement? If you're the leader of your organization, who's your replacement? If you go out to lunch here after this video and you do everything right, you cross through an intersection, but somebody else who was texting blows through a red light, slams into your car, and something bad happens to you. Maybe you're in a coma, God forbid, or maybe God calls you home. Who's next in line? Who's going to care for your family? Who's going to care for that organization at the same level that you care for it? Who's going to lead that organization at the same level that you led it, so that your organization continues to accomplish that which you set out to accomplish based off of your passions, your mission, and your vision that can also support your family? Because if you don't have that, here's what I'm here to tell you. You have a huge gap in your business and in your life that has many adverse risks associated to it. So if you want to know how to create this reproduction plan, stay tuned. We're going to dig into this. Bear with me. We've got a lot to cover. Here's what I'm going to let you guys know just right off the bat. You know me, I'm very authentic and transparent. I have my journal here, and I stayed up past midnight last night really journaling on all this. And I want to make sure that I stay on the path that I want to deliver today, and not go too long and not give you guys too much that's going to confuse you. So if you see me look down every once in a while, I'm just referencing my notes, and it's for your value. So here's what we look at. There's a couple things I will tell you. A succession plan really takes effect. The way you can really build these 4 succession plans is based off of 3 key understandings. The first one is when you have subordinate leaders that are willing to be engaged in the mission. They buy into your mission. They buy into what you're doing and where you're going. And when you identify someone with that initial criteria, you have the ability to initiate a succession plan. Okay? Because absent of that, it doesn't matter how great your reproduction plan is with your leaders. If they're not bought into your mission, what are they going to do? They're going to start their own agenda, and they're going to lead people and influence them based on their own agenda. The second one is, are they equipped to do it? Yesterday's video, we talked about resource to resourcefulness, teaching them the resources that they need, training them to be resourceful so that they have the capabilities and skill sets to influence and impact and lead, inspire, and empower those within the organization, below them, above them, and lateral to them. 360-Degree Leaders. Great book written by John Maxwell. Highly recommend it. Okay? So we have, first one is engaged in the mission, and they're equipped to do it. The third one is they accept the responsibility to carry it out. Look, guys, I think there's a lot of leaders out there that are equipped to do the mission. They're equipped to be leaders, right? They believe in the mission. They just don't want to assume the responsibility. And I remember being in the military, my very first unit, the battalion commander asked me as a lieutenant, he said, "Lieutenant Hart, are you willing to accept 100% of the responsibilities, meaning, are you willing to accept all the success and failures of the platoon? And when I said yes, he said, great, the platoon is yours. But he set the stage for understanding that everything that platoon does is your responsibility. And so if you're going to create a reproduction plan of leaders within your organization, they must be willing to assume the responsibilities of what it takes to be a servant leader, if that's the type of leadership you desire in your organization, as well as everything they must sacrifice in order to carry out that reproductive leader that you have established within your organization. So those are the 3 initial criteria. But what I want to look at today are the 4 categories of a succession plan. These are the 4 things I believe you need to take into consideration, start planning for now, planning for in the future, and building your plan around it, a reproductive plan, so that you don't get caught by surprise and be forced into hiring a leader out of pain because you weren't planning, because failure to plan is planning to fail. The first one is an unexpected succession. What's an unexpected succession? This is the one that we talked about being, hit by a bus, won the lottery, something changed, and they're no longer with you. You either got that call or the email, or they actually gave you enough, they respected you enough to come in and say, I quit, I'm moving on, okay? So it's the unexpected. It's something that wasn't on your radar that just created a massive shift in your organization because they are a leader within your organization, or they were one of your high-level producers, right? The next one is a defined departure, meaning these are people that raise their hand and say, hey, my husband just got relocated and we're going to be moving a month from now. One of your key leaders is relocating. One of your key leaders may be retiring. Okay? This is a departure that has a defined period of time that allows you the ability to react, that may be unexpected, but you have some grace period to create that replacement and bring in the next man up, whereby they have the ability to transition very smoothly. Okay? So it can be internal, it can be external. A defined departure can also be a promotion, right? The business has evolved. There's an opportunity to launch another department. You think that this person, maybe it's your lead buyer specialist that's now ready to go be the sales manager because your business has evolved and you're creating this new position, and yet you don't have the next buyer agent to step up and be a lead buyer specialist. So therefore, you may either hold that person back or move them into a role and then have that gap of subordinate leadership within your organization, okay? The next one is temporary. This is where one of your leaders takes a temporary leave of absence. I'm not saying is out sick for a couple days. I'm saying maybe it's someone going on a maternity leave. Maybe it's someone going on a missions trip. Maybe it's that person that got hit by a bus unexpectedly, fortunately is still living, but is in a coma, and they're not coming back to work anytime soon, okay? Look, I don't mean to be doom and gloom, but life happens. People get hit by buses. People cross the street and, crazy stuff happens. People text message and run into the back of buses, like something that happened in our market here a couple of days ago. Okay? So a temporary leave of absence is more about a sustained period of time where that key leader or subordinate leader is not operating as the leader within your organization, and there's the possibility they may come back. Okay? Fourth one is senior leadership. This is a high-level leader. This is maybe the CEO. Maybe you've grown your organization to a point where you've replaced yourself as the CEO and you've gone on to maybe launch another business, do another venture, etc. And you've stepped out of the day-to-day operations of the business, and your senior leadership experiences a change out. Now, the thing about senior leadership is it encompasses any variation of the first 3. It could be an unexpected senior leadership change out. It could be a defined departure, right? Maybe that person is Maybe that person went to an event and they hear your name on social media, how great you're doing. They say, hey, why don't you come be a part of my organization? I'll offer you more money, better opportunity, bigger vision. That stuff happens all the time. Okay? Why? Because people know it's very hard to reproduce leaders, so it's easier to just go pay them more and steal them from someone else. Businesses do it all the time to IBM. Okay? Or it could be a temporary senior leadership where maybe that person leaves your current market to go stand up maybe it's a satellite campus or an expansion team, and they go to that market for a couple of months, maybe 6 months, to go stand that location up, find the leader, replace them there, and come back into their senior leadership position. Now, here's the thing. I believe that these 4, again, you might have more, you may think of something different. If you do, and you already know, put it in the comments. We'll be glad to add it to part of the coaching process and bring value to our community. But I believe if you start to build a plan within your organization of 1, what does creating a reproduction leadership succession plan look like? Maybe I don't have that. Maybe I don't have those leaders. You start there with those 3 key elements of criteria: engaged in the mission, equipped to do it, and they're willing to take the responsibility. And then you start to define systems and models by which you operate as a leader repetitiously and consistently that has defined your leadership that you want to reproduce. And maybe you already have subordinate leaders that you need to start creating that succession plan and get everybody on the same page. But here's what I'm here to tell you guys. If you don't have a plan, your next man up plan in your organization for something unexpected to happen, your business is at risk. And if you're the key leader, if you're the head honcho in charge, the CEO, whatever label you want to give yourself, if there's really nobody higher than you, and you don't have a plan of unexpected, that is poor risk management. And that's what defines leaders in an organization, is not getting rid of the risk, but how do we manage them? Because you cannot get rid of every risk. This is a huge risk to your business. Risk management leaders, you need to have a succession plan of what happens unexpectedly if I depart this earth. What happens if one of my key leaders running one of my departments or subordinate teams unexpectedly leaves the earth, leads the business, etc. Okay? Then look at what happens if you have growth and you have an organizational chart and you have a desire for the organization to grow into many different departments. Well, guess what? You're going to have defined departure. And you need to understand that it's much easier to reproduce leaders and grow them into that next level leader within your organization than go out and try and find a new leader to build out that department. And we'll do another separate video on that. And then temporary leadership. If you believe people are not willing to take time off, I think every business should be prepared for the temporary succession plan, especially in leaders, because leaders bear a heavy weight. And every leader will tell you there's times where you get burnt out. And if you think sometimes that a week off, once or twice a year is sufficient enough, you're just not leading at a high enough level, because we bear a heavy burden of being the vehicle to other people's successes. The more people, the bigger the organization, the more people you have, the heavier burden. The more leaders you're responsible for, even heavier burden. I believe every leader should be able to work to a point where they can take a month off from either leading the business or their department, and that business or department can still operate effectively in their absence. And that's part of having a temporary leadership plan. And senior leaders, if you have senior leadership and you're the CEO and you're not planning for that moment where either you move up and move out, God takes you home, or your CEO decides, hey, life happened, I'm out of here, and now you have to jump back into that role and move away from something that you were building, you have a big gap in your ability to live a massive life. So look at these 4. If you want additional consulting on that, please feel free to reach out to me, Chris at transforminglivescoaching.com. But I'm not here to sell you on coaching or consulting. I'm here to ask you a question. Are you building an internal and external leadership succession plan? If you are, my question for you is, what are you doing? Is it a reproduction or is it a replacement? Okay? And quite frankly, here's my belief. I think having both, having a plan for both, really puts you in pole position for growing a massive organization. If you're doing either, I would encourage you to take into consideration the next one. But last but not least, the question that I believe can create the most thought for you to access the resources of your massive brain that has everything you need within it now. What can you do today? What's a decision you can make today to protect your organization, to create a leadership succession plan whereby you have a reproductive leadership pipeline so you're not subjected to replacement all the time, that will cause you to have healthy leadership and thus a healthy organization? I'd love to hear your questions, your comments, and your responses. If you're watching live, feel free to put them in the comments. If you're watching this on replay, do the same. If you like the video, give us some thumbs up, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and allow us the opportunity to continue to coach you like we do for many others offline, outside of these video series. And if you see value in them, hey, join us each and every day. We'd love to be part of your journey and engage you at a deeper level. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you saw value in this, and not just your organization, but in your life as well. Look at this from a familial standpoint. Fathers, we're ultimately responsible for our families. Does your family have a succession plan? God forbid the Lord takes you home. Who's going to lead your family? Who's going to carry on your legacy? Who's going to take care of your wife and children? Who's going to take care of those responsibilities so your wife doesn't have to go out and replace you? She may, that's fine, but we don't put them in a position where they have to. They can pick up where they left off after the grieving's over and continue to drive the legacy that you were so passionate about, pouring your time, energy, and resources and sacrifices into your family and your organization. Guys, remember one thing. God loves you, so do I. Lead strong, be powerful. Thank you for joining me, and be blessed. Take care.